Hi, and good evening. Hopefully the sound levels are all right. I have adjusted it a little bit, so if I touch this, it doesn't go out of level and so on. It's been a long day here, and good start to the weekend. And hopefully this one will be as well. So welcome and cheers. And no, wine doesn't have to have a cork to be a good one. There are good ones without a cork. Skål. I'm fine. Just very warm. It's 28 degrees here. And have been inside the hot kitchen, and we opened up around 10 in the morning here instead of 12, because today in this area has been the examination or exams, like end of the school for the youth here. So there's been a lot of families eating here, and it's been insane. But I made it out to the outside, so here I am with you, working on well, nothing is weird. What I do for work, or where I work in Taberg outside of Jönköping, 3 hours south of Stockholm and 2 hours east of Gothenburg. It's a restaurant we're on a mountain, and I do both the warm and the cold kitchen depending on where I'm needed or necessary. It all depends. And I've been working in the restaurant industry almost as long as the black metal, which means 20 plus years. In other words, it's the other thing that I do. Well, yeah, I will definitely do a full video about brewing in a not too distant future, because now I'm not broke anymore, or on the 25th I won't be broke anymore. And what do I think about the band that I won't even mention its name? I think it's weak, uninspired, pathetic, cowardly, disgusting, and a lot more. And I've told that to them in person, and that one day their fingers will not belong to them anymore but to me. And how that happens and when that happens is for them to find out. Suing doesn't really work in the underground business, and uh, it's it's more about integrity and devotion and dedication to the art form and the movement than something monetary. So I'm not interested in suing anyone. And yeah, I think this guitar sounds nice too. It has a nice body to it, and it's a lot wider than a regular guitar. So I look forward to sharing some of the recordings I've been working on and making out of this one. Good evening and cheers. Damn. Thank you, Elvia. That's incredible. I hope that you have a fantastic week, fantastic evening, and also good weekend. And yeah, I agree that it's weird to make music or even call it music when you're just making bad covers of other band songs. But of course, some people don't just care about being in a band or having approval. No, it's direct theft, not sounding similar. I know that there are some songs on the first album that sounded similar to some stuff that my friend Jonas composed, and we told that to them, and they met us before they even finished the first album. And then the irony is that on their second album, they literally stole one of my songs and just added a solo to it, and they stole a song from another band too. And they claim that they haven't heard it, but the person that recorded that song has been to my mother's home where I performed that song live several years before they recorded it. So how did that happen? Yeah, the only reason that person isn't indefinitely in a hospital is because I have better things to do. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish yet, but I will in the future. And hi. mandatory work training sounds shitty, but hopefully it will lead to something useful or constructive. And once again, thank you very much. It's incredibly appreciated. And if you have any requests for subjects of future videos or any songs in future videos, I'm more than open to any suggestions. And yeah, it's an unreleased song of an unreleased album that I recorded 9 years ago in a studio, but because of label problems and people trying to rip me off, I've chosen to not release it until I've sorted out that thing. And unfortunately, that is something that I have to sue someone for or go to court with. And I simply don't have the energy or time for that. I've been focusing on composing about a dozen more albums to make in the future instead. And it will all work out in the long run. That's what matters. I don't give a shit about the present. And I don't really care for the past either. My work is for eternity and everything that is beyond where all of us are. Hi. If I like photography, yeah, definitely, and I agree. Uh, I've taken most of the cover photos of Life Lover, and of course all pictures and covers of anything related to hypothermia and suicide. That's one of my outlets of getting my photography out, and then of course my inactive but still alive Instagram account has a lot of my nature photography as well. Well, I'm not sure if it would be a good idea to turn off a meeting volume, but as you hopefully know, these streams are available after too. So just note down, if it matters to you, around what time that you're exiting this stream, and you can always join it again later or rewatch it later. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that there are several of you in the chat uh, that speak Spanish, since we are from all over the world right now. One of my bands is called Callias, though I would say rather that I'm part of that, because it's my friends that do most of the work in that band. I mainly do vocals and some of the lyrics. Hi, S. What wine? It's from La Bourgogne in Bourgogne. It's a Pinot Noir. It's one of my favorite wines and favorite grapes as well. And yeah, for the moment, I'm waiting to make videos with or about Cal until next time that I'm up in Stockholm to meet some of the members, so we can make some videos about our second album that was released a year ago. And yeah, live streaming has been interesting. I'm learning a lot of things about just a bit more how I express myself, and trying to get a bit more stream of consciousness going on, which helps me for future videos that is not live as well. So it's been good and I enjoy it. And once again, Miguel, I'm not sure about the romantic painting style, but I can enjoy it to some extent. Well, I plan to learn Spanish in the future when I have a bit more time on my hands. And I usually buy wine because it's a bit more longer process to make it properly when it comes to red wine at least. But I do make wine out of berries that I forage every summer or autumn depending on how much time I have on my hands. Uh, because where I live there is a lot of blueberries, and I also grow black currants, white currants, and uh, gooseberries. And here outside of this restaurant is a lot of cherries. So I usually pick a lot of those and make a wine each autumn. And I'm glad to hear that you learn more here. But also, I guess, because I speak about things that perhaps interest you more than what you would learn in an English class. And when I was younger, if the teacher was busy, she used to tell other students to ask me for questions or answers because I was the second best next to the teacher in any class. Because I've always been interested in language and how they're all connected and how you can transmit different ideas and philosophy through it. And yeah, I think sometime in the future I will make a video about Chile because that was just a expression I had to have between recordings of hypothermia because back then my drummer lived like 900 kilometers or about 10 to 12 hours north of where I live. So it was hard. We couldn't rehearse, and that's why we just met 3 times to record a lot of things between 2004 and 2006. Thanks, Alexander. That's cool to hear. I'm actually working on some videos where I'm documenting my process of painting, and like it will be like a short documentary about a series of paintings and my process and thoughts in or on it. And yeah, I understand that, Miguel. I'm aware of the style, and my mother is a painter and teaches painting. So, and yes, I sell paintings. I used to post them like frequently on Instagram, but I stopped because no one was paying attention. And like yeah, just the last year, I've been offering like it's a option in my web shop to you can choose like what ingredients I use to make the painting, and then I choose what to make, which is usually like abstract nature. But I will definitely, when I have more time, do some more collections and sessions that will be for sale specifically. I don't really have any favorite artist. But thanks for asking. And yeah, I'm not really great at math either. For me, language is a lot easier, or especially things connected to nature. And the irony is that I'm the only one in my class that got failing grade in music because I'm not interested in their rules, and their system can simply, yeah, I'm not interested in that. But math is not really my strong suit either. I can do what's necessary to work, but yeah, I understand the charm and magic of it to some people, but it's just not for me. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's few from Ukraine at the moment, but welcome. Unfortunately, I don't have any Ukrainian drinks around me right now, but maybe some other day. Though it's a lot easier to get things from your neighboring countries. I used to know some words, of course, but right now I've been awake since 5 in the morning and working for 13 hours, so my mind is a bit clouded, and I'm trying to get a mix of different clouds and some focus through some nice wine and nice company. Yeah, I can call it pattern recognition for sure. A lot of things are bad blood with other artists. Um, well, there are some people that I might have had some not bad blood, but just conflicts with or misunderstandings when being on tour. But we have usually cleared that up either in person or one time I called one of their bandmates and told them my thoughts, and then there wasn't any problems after that. And then, of course, I've had friends or ex band members that I've had to many times go and fix some situations because they didn't know who they were talking to or who they were offending and so on. But I think that's normal in the black metal community and the underground, especially at live events, of course, because there's alcohol and other um, substances involved in many occasions. Well, the only way to get better at the language is to practice it. So listening or writing is always good. And I think there is more bands that consider that they have bad opinions or bad blood towards me and my bands rather than the opposite. Because I don't really care. Because to me, there's so much more that I need to do with the energy that I have each day, and that's limited. So I would never waste that on someone that I don't even care about. So even though there are several bands or artists that I don't really care for, that's all I can say really, because that's what all they deserve. They deserve less than that. That's why I don't say names of bands that I don't like if I can avoid it, because they don't even deserve that. They don't deserve my voice. They don't deserve my time. And hi, I'm doing fine. Tired as hell. As for what my favorite music related story or instances, I can't really have a favorite because I have too many. uh, I've had the I've been fortunate enough to have some really weird and fucked up experiences over the years, and I feel that it's a blessing to be in my position at many times. But some of the stories are, of course, connected to some moments connected to recording different albums or songs with my bands or some of my friends. And that's going to come up in future videos on this channel as well. I'm not sure if I will be able to return home before the lilacs at my place are out of bloom, unfortunately. And I think it's very hard to photograph flowers to make them interesting if it's not abstract. So I'm not against the request, but it's just very hard. As for recommending a good reverb pedal, I think if you want a cheap but very functional and useful reverb pedal, the RV6 from Boss is, of course, very useful, and it has a lot of good features. And if you can afford like between 30 to 40 to 60 more euros or dollars, um, there are several very interesting reverb pedals by the company called Walrus Audio. And then if I have a bigger budget, I can show you my favorite pedal from last year. This is a reverb pedal and also looper and glitch, ambient, atmospheric. It's called the Microcosm by Hologram Electronics, and it's amazing. For example, if you like bands like Consider Suicide, or bigger bands like Sigur Rós, you can make any sound that you can hear on any of our albums through that pedal. Then, of course, I can go through some of my pedals in another video. And no, I never read the book Grishjärta by Natram, because incoherent poems than a book. And yeah, I'm not interested in reading his poems. The only reason why he got any acclaim is because of the music made by another man. And yeah, I don't really care for that person. And if I enjoy early black metal like Dark Throne, yeah, definitely. Under a Funeral Moon is one of my favorite albums of all time, and it remains to be because there is something very magical, and yeah, the atmosphere of that album to me is very special. And of course, all the first two albums and the EP, the Holy Trilogy of Forgotten Woods is amazing too. And yeah, sure, I can definitely do a video about what music equipment I use. And of course, there will be streamings too. Right now, I'm preparing for the midsummer, and I got an approval from my boss to make a live stream in the restaurant after closing hours. So I'm going to borrow a certain corner of that room, which has mirrors and candles, and turn that out into a temporary studio with some amplifier and effect pedals, my piano, my guitar, and microphones for my voice, and make a live concert. So that's going to be fantastic. And I wouldn't say that I've listened to Rammstein, but I've heard them through friends in the past, and I made several art exhibitions with their vocalist, but I haven't met him in person. And no, I don't have any favorite painters. Just like music, I prefer the ritual of making it rather than consuming it. I'm not really interested in what other people do or have done. And what do I think of Uncle Conker? I can appreciate it in the right occasions with the right people. I don't have any favorite movies. I watched way too many of them, but I can't say that I have any favorites. And good evening. And yeah, I would definitely say that my songs are meditation, or it needs to have a meditative quality. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs too, and I wouldn't have these tattoos without it. Mushrooms and psychedelia for life. Nice to hear that some people are enjoying Ritual Mood. I appreciate that. And we're working on more, and in about a month or so, Johan should be here to join us for another live stream. And yeah, I look forward to making the live concerts too. It's going to be interesting experience, and also I will try to incorporate several elements like drums and piano and guitar and see what happens. I appreciate hearing that, Polly. One one of my main ideas when I started consider suicide is that I often find myself not sure about what to listen to if I like just meditate or want to read a book or something, or taking a walk, or just laying down on the floor. So that was one of the inspirations for starting to compose and recording, to have background music. And then, of course, I'm more than happy and honored for anyone that cares more about that music than that. The most darkly fun thing that has happened to me, there are several things that is very odd and weird and dark, and I'm still writing down or working on those scripts, and I've been talking to some people, even at my work, about them. And usually people say that I should write a book about it, but I'd rather make a video about it. And when I have the time, I will also make like an audiobook with a soundtrack about those things. So I won't answer it in this live stream, but I will definitely uh, make sure to make a video or something like that this year. As for what my parents will listen to and if it influenced me in my early life, yeah, definitely. My mother used to listen to a lot of like odd and dark music when she was younger. And hi, and welcome back, Maya. Uh, for example, a lot of Kraftwerk. Uh, that was one of my earlier childhood memories. And my father has like some Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath stuff. So that's some of my earlier memories in my youth and childhood. And then, of course, I started listening to weird and odd music already around 7 and 9. because I was 9 when I discovered black metal, and I've stuck to it since. And then most works of Bow is fantastic, of course. And yeah, both me and my mother appreciate Kate Bush, so that's been important too. And if there are any song requests, there is maybe 80% of songs that I can't play, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And if I feel anxiety, no, not really. It was worse early in the day. And that's one of the benefits of doing this in the evening, because any anxiety I feel, I will have the most intense version of that while I'm working, because sometimes it's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And fortunately, I'm the kind of person that has like a really high threshold when it comes to stress. So I'm fine, thanks. Well, the irony is that I can chug vodka, but this is mineral water because I haven't had time to eat since my breakfast at 9 in the morning. So, in other words, in a bit more than 12 hours because of work. As for the winter gift, uh, I think it shouldn't be too long before I'm able to finish those songs, because I I started working on those songs, and then I got self-critical and deleted everything and started to re-record them again. And then I got some requests for other songs to make samples, like sampling nature and things like that into the songs. So I started incorporating that into all the songs for the album to flow together, and not just having one song with nature samples. So that's why you haven't gotten a mail. And I made 2 update videos about the progress too. So I'm sorry that you're waiting, but it's going to be worth it, I can assure you. I'm going to make this album into something very emotional and expressive. As for what I think about Cannibal Corpse, I don't have any opinion because that's not my kind of music. And I'm glad to hear that, Maya. This week has been rough here too. It's warm as hell, very busy, because people are starting to come here more and more. And yeah, but it's fun. I'd rather have it busy than completely dead. As for advice on handling anxiety and stress, I think I covered that pretty well in some of my videos about anxiety on this channel. But if you feel that there's more details or something I'm missing in those videos, let me know. Once again, Bellstadt, and I will be more than happy to go more into detail, more in depth about my thoughts or philosophy about it. And yeah, I'm always learning new things about how to cope with or handling anxiety. So I don't mind making more videos in that series, even if I end up repeating myself. As what languages I plan to learn besides Spanish, I used to practice some French about a decade ago because of some of my friends, so maybe that, because why not? I used to be able to speak German like 20 years ago. Now I can just read some of it. But like not under pressure. Like if you started writing in German in this chat, I wouldn't be able to read it properly. But I can read it in a book usually. Or if it's in a movie, I can usually make it out. Especially if there's subtitles, then that really helps to get a more complete picture of it. And it would be nice to learn Icelandic in the future, simply because it's the past of where I'm from. It's the closest version of the ancient Norse, so same as I wouldn't mind learning older Swedish dialects either. Yeah, I'm open. It depends on the future. And if I enjoy the Devil's Blood, I used in the past, but they got a bit too mainstream for me in terms of their production and their sound. But I appreciate what they did for the metal scene, and especially raising some more awareness on occultism. And if anything funny has happened to me or around me lately, uh, I'm not sure. Some of my working colleagues are fun sometimes or interesting, and they say or ask me things that I haven't thought about, and that helps me for making some of my future videos here. So I think that's interesting, but I can't really. Uh, I can't come up with something specific at the moment beyond just realizing ideas for new videos and songs. As for performing in Besat, I can do that when Yuan is here because then he can do the vocals. That makes more sense. So it will happen, but not in this stream. As for favorite book or movie genres, I can't really say much. Like I've recommended the anime Mushishi before, and Nausea by Sartre, and as for unanimated movie, some people seem to hate it, but I adore the movie Cloud Atlas. And I know it starts a bit stupid, but wait an hour and especially take some mushrooms and LSD, and you should enjoy that movie if you're not retarded. Yeah, I'm using that word. Where's the darkest place in Scandinavia? Yeah, there's too much sun here right now too, from like 4 in the morning until 10 in the evening. But the winter's, of course, always a better time for that. So go anywhere where there's winter. Uh, as for anxiety and stress at the workplace, well, I've always approached it with the same kind of uh, idea that I can put into my other aspects of life, like music and art. But just to remember and think about your own perspective, that you're more prone to making mistakes and errors if you are under stress. So it's better to try to remain calm and focus on what you need to do, because you know how frustrating it is when other people make mistakes and you don't want to be that person. And I always want to lead by a good example. So that's what I try to do, because I expect the same from the people around me. And to me, that works to remove some stress. It's a part of the stress, but it's important for the focus and to maintaining the focus. As for my body language, I don't understand how it would be unusual, but uh, I'm diagnosed with several things, and one of them is Asperger's. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I can seem a bit eccentric to some people, and some people for the past 25 years have said that I'm gay, but I'm not attracted to men. So I'm not sure what that means. Uh, and I don't consider that to be neither a good or a bad thing. I'm neutral to all of that. So, yeah. As for able to live with people who are not nice, unfortunately, that's often a part of reality in life. But of course, if you mean the same apartment, just do your best to be able to get your own place. That's and that will be a reward in itself when you are able to reach that goal. In Sweden, it's starting to get darker because it's a bit cloudy right now, or foggy, because it's been a warm day. So that's why I not shut on, turned on the light here, because this camera is very light sensitive. So I didn't want to risk becoming too pixelated and having people becoming worried if it's shutting down. I don't understand why people think German is hard. It's one of the easier languages to learn. But of course, there is a lot of similarities to Swedish and other Scandinavian languages. So I'm at a different part of the scale, I guess. And I've heard that people told me that I should enjoy Dostoevsky, but uh, I'm just not really interested. Maybe someday. And Finnish is interesting, but there's only one place that speaks it. You can't really use it in the rest of the world. So for me, that's one of the main reasons why I would never bother with it. And also, it's very complicated. And welcome to some of the new people in the chat. And hi, I'm fine. Tired from a 13-hour workday and not eating for 13 hours, but beyond that, fine. Enjoying some good wine and some good company. And musical style of bands that I participated in my philosophy on life. I can't really define it to more than devotion. Uh, Abstract, nature oriented. As for Nosheim, I've supported them all the way since their first demo. And I don't remember if I met them in person or not, but have friends up in Umeå where we have had plans to work with them, but things have just happened or came between. And yeah, weather has said that there should be rain here too, but right now it's not raining, so we'll see what happens. As for how I cope with overloads, uh, yeah, that happens to me more when I'm at home than here because the silence makes them more. It makes me more aware of them, and also, of course, when I travel, it just be worse at my previous workplace. Here's better because I work with fewer people at a smaller place. As for if weed has been more psychedelic after using other substances, no, not really. I've taken insane amounts of weed in the past for the simple purpose of tripping on it, like eating between 5 and 10 grams by myself. That's another story. Yeah, that's not insane, but most people don't eat that amount in one sitting. So, you know, it's all about perspective. But I definitely take it more for the side effects. And I prefer the few times that I do use weed is to take an overdose of it because I'm interested in the trippy aspects of it and the paranoia and uh, just to me to be I can use it as a normal person, but I'm not interested in that. Well, you can't speak Swedish in all of Finland. There's just part of it where you can speak it because of the parts and cities that used to belong to Sweden. Uh, as for listening to the Finnish bands, I used to in the past, but not really, not too interested. As for if I've received offers from any major labels, no. They they seem to think that uh, my work is too obscure or something else, while they support other bands that are doing a similar thing but worse. So I don't know what their thoughts are or reasoning, but I think that over time I will persevere and prevail. So what is supposed to be or happen will happen with time. So I'm patient. I don't have a rush. This is like the things that I do is the purpose of my life. So it's the only thing that I exist for. So I don't really give a fuck about anything else. And I'm glad to hear that you're finding this trip on the memory lane. And I read some of your comments, though I haven't had the time to respond because I've been busy at work. But yeah, I appreciate that a lot. And there's some older stuff by Hona that I appreciate, but I haven't really had the time to listen to them in the past years. But yeah, there is Finnish bands that I appreciate. It's just that, and I've performed with several of them live during the past decade too. But yeah, I don't like breathing myself too much because I know that I will get a question again. But of course, Varder is fantastic, and by some of the same people from Hone and Varder, Prevalent Resistance. I've released one of their 7 EPs in the past. Of course, Circle of Orbers. Once again, I've released one of their vinyls in the past. And of course, Flesh Press is not bad. Then there are some noise and ambient stuff that I don't remember the names of, but I have it somewhere in a box at home. As for French bands, my friend Mallory Julia in Nuit Noir, of course. Let's see beyond that. I can't really think of anything at the moment. As for labels and such, and other bands, uh, well, I have some stories about the mid 2000s and the earlier part too. Um, but I will uh, I will go through that story next time that I am in Stockholm to see my bassist, because as some of you know, he used to be in Shining during that time and also helping with the label Subsmord in that time. So I will talk to him about that next time I see him. And I've never cared about Alceste. I think it's mediocre and I'm not interested. There's a lot of other better bands that does atmospheric music and post-rock that have done everything that he ever done better. Like Mono, for example. As for what I think about what happens after death, I I'm not interested in that because everything you do in life is an echo of yourself or your surroundings. So I think that depends on how deep and how loud your echo is. And I'm interested in making a incredible mess, a really, really loud one. As for what phone I use, some years ago I got a Samsung S7, and that's what I still use. As for if I experienced any influx in angsty teens, wanting any piece of some action, there's never that happening because all of them are too shy. They just want a picture with me and then they run away. So I have no idea what would happen otherwise to other people. Uh, I've turned off the volume of the computer now and also my monitors. Hopefully that should be better. And if there's still a delay, it's either my connection being weird because of the weather or it's your connection. But thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. Hopefully that this should be better to some extent. Um, and now I will eat something later or in the morning. What my work is, I'm a chef at a restaurant, and right now it's talking to you and drinking wine, which is a pretty good job too. And sometimes it's touching instruments, but most of the time it's cooking food or talking or taking pictures or painting ideas of them. Uh, I think that sounds a bit abstract when it comes to shining. I'm not sure what you mean. Uh, you probably mean well, but at the moment I'm confused, and I'm not drunk enough to be confused. As for how I learned to play the guitar, I started getting lessons when I was young, and they disgusted me and bored me to the hell out of everything, so I didn't touch a guitar for years. Then I decided, after being more alone and more in meditation, to try to learn it myself in my own way, and that's how I started composing for Hypothermia and the first three demos, and then just continued after that, me practicing and learning it and becoming better at it, hopefully. And if I like Gal, yeah, I like him. I like him so much that I've stood 2 meters away from him without saying hi to him because I didn't want to bother him. And if I write poems, I consider a lot of my lyrics to be like poems but better. Because to me, poems are boring, but a good lyric is not. How I have time to play music and work. Uh, this is a season restaurant, so they're open from spring to fall. And I'm also used to being poor. So that means that I can survive or live well out of almost nothing, and I've had years of practice. That means that I'm prepared to starve for what I believe in, which I usually do. And that in turn means that I usually spend 3 to 4 months of the year without an income, just working on art and music. And during that time, I have no other income. And sometimes that's 6 or 8 months of the year. To me, that's irrelevant. I can live on my own blood and water if I have to. And I have. As for the devil worship concept, that's another video. But Onscopt is a friend or friends and a band that I care about, so that's why I've done stuff with them in the past. But that's a bigger subject. But one of the reasons is simply that black metal and devil worship, which are always connected, should never have the limitations or rules. So, in other words, do your best to offend and go against all of the rules that exist. And that's why we did what we did back then. As for what my favorite dish is, I don't really have any because I like too many different things, but there are several both Swedish, French, and Japanese dishes that I like to make. I promise I will make a video about that in the future. And yeah, I've, I have met the people from that band. I will never say that band. I will never say that name because they don't deserve to be mentioned. And no, I don't like what you say music by them because they haven't created music. They have ripped off other bands for their own profit. When I shave my head, maybe later this year. I usually do it every decade, and I've done it 3 times the past 30 years. So we'll see when it happens, when I feel like it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you hear something from like a radio station in the background, especially if you wear headphones or have a good sound system, because this is on top of a mountain and they have several uh, parabolas, antennas, and connectors from different phone companies and radio stations on this mountain in this building. So there could be some radio interference, and I have unfortunately no idea how to reconnect to a different one. Because I hear that when I plug in my headphones into the input of this, but I have no idea. Uh, and yeah, I know what you mean about shining. And uh, like I mentioned previously, like when I have time to spend some time with some of my friends that have both been members of that band and also done tours with them, and of course with my own perspective of doing several concerts with them, I will have a good foundation for an interesting video, I think. And what bands I dislike the most? Like I said before, those people don't deserve my energy and my attention. And to me, the only time that I actually feel interested enough in doing a video where I talk about those bands is when I can meet them in person and actually do an interview with them and tell them in person on video how much I feel that they are uninspired and mediocre and that they should defend themselves. And hi. I think when it comes to composing music, right now it's getting easier and easier to find different pedals and synths and other stuff, like other equipment, to transpose your melodies. So you can probably translate the drums into piano or guitar and other stuff through software, but also hardware, depending on how much you're interested in sacrificing. Personally, I do both. It's always worth learning other instruments, and I keep collecting them because I find it interesting. And if it's true that there are many versions of Gråtoner, I've recorded twice in like different studios, and those are both released on CD and on my Bandcamp for Hypothermia. As for all the rehearsals of it, we have destroyed them because they're not good enough. And then, of course, there's some other live versions, and that's going to happen in the future. And hi in return, and cheers. I appreciate hearing that you like videos or my videos. I appreciate that. As for doing a Burzum thing and do a synth album, yeah, you should. Though I know he can do it better, and you can probably do it better too. There's plenty of good synthesizers that are within a budget. Yeah, I'll do a video about that too, I promise. As for my favorite Burzum album, that's very easy because of one song. Det som en gång var. Because of the song Vi lyset tar oss. That's one of the few songs that you ever need to hear, actually. That's like one of the few modern songs that deserves a classic version, and that's something that I'm going to make when I'm allowed back on stages. I've been working on it for 15 years, and it's going to be worth the wait. And how about Hate Forest? I know the band, but I don't care about it. And yeah, I even tell Black Hole and Super. I don't like Super Ego. I think that pedal is shitty, but Black Hole is good. Everything by Eventide is good. And I'm aware that I don't appreciate Sweden, but that's not about Sweden itself, but our politicians are weak and cowardly. But that's another video by itself, and I'm not interested in making it. And hi. What kind of wine? It's red wine, and the grape is Pinot Noir. It's from a French maker that I happen to enjoy. As for Aska, I'm not sure. He just decided one day that he doesn't stand behind those values anymore, and I know that he does something completely different, but that's private to him. And yeah, I appreciate it a lot. And his name was Robert. I will be back in a minute. I need to go to the bathroom so I can have more wine and perhaps play another song. I'll be right back. And if you need to find this, the label will be different in your country probably, but I can recommend it. I've been drinking it for a long time. If I've been well, when it comes to Falbygden, I've lived in that area for a long time, but never been to the hospitals there for the more than the psychiatric evaluation back when I was sicklisted like a decade ago. Nacht. Oder Liebe? Lebe? Meine Deutsch sind nicht gut. Favorite Russian band? Don't have any. And when it comes to what Jonas would do, well, we would definitely be working on the 7th or 8th album of Life Lover. And I know he had recorded a 3rd album of Dim Him, and he would probably have finished a 4th one by now. Yeah, he likes Slipknot a lot, which is understandable because the first 3 albums is pretty interesting. And good night, Mr. or Mrs. Fear. Cheers. Yeah, Dim Him is fantastic. I'm glad you have the tape, it's a special one. And that's how I got in touch with him in the beginning, because he contacted me in 2004 because he wanted me to release that album. And then we ended up meeting, of course, a year later for my guest performance on his 2nd album. And then he joined me for the recordings of Sköld and Rakbladsvalsen. and then we ended up a week after that to recorded the first songs on Pulver, and obviously the rest is history. To ending SSRI, I would advise meditation and nature, because that's all the wrong parts of Satan. And I know it's hard, and I've had friends that died from it, not from the actual medication, but from the side effects. So I think you should be careful, but take the time you need. As for what I think about Diagnos Lebensgefahr, I think it's unfortunate that he didn't make a proper album, because to me, what he made is a demo, and I told him that, and that I didn't want to release that, because it didn't deserve a release, because it's a demo, and he wanted it to be released as an album. So when I told him that, he was offended and started writing me emails in all caps lock. Unfortunately, I don't have that account anymore, so I can't show you, but yeah, it was hilarious. It's not bad, but I know he can do better. And thanks. I appreciate Rockballsvalsen too. And I will do a fully acoustic in the future. Mikael, I know several Mikaels. I'm not sure about who you mean. If you mean Nox, I met them a couple of times, but I don't know him personally, while of course several of my friends know him in person. So I don't have contact with them, but I could have. If you mean another Mikael, let me know, and I will see him. No, I've never heard those bands. Stala, I don't mind them, but I think it's mediocre at best. It's possible that that's his name. I've lost my papers from him. I have a letter from him and some bird's feet and some other bullshit. I haven't mailed with him for like 13 years, so I can't say yes to that question. But my studio in Stockholm is just a few neighborhoods away from Lere. So we can see what he can say about it in the future. And I've done interviews and meetings with the label behind Stalla. So I can probably get something interesting with him in the future when I'm allowed to travel to the Netherlands again. I made a very long radio interview with him the day after Jonas had died, which was weird. Or 2 days after that. And I understand what you mean about the scene and buying tapes or records occasionally, but not much more. It's the same here. I think every decade has its prime. As for Svartstrid, uh, I don't remember any stories about him, uh, and I honestly don't remember if I ever took in a few copies of his demo or not, because of course I remember Håkan releasing it, because I talked to him almost weekly back then, but yeah, it's not bad, but as many underground tape releases, it's never really that great either. Well, you can probably remember back then from the insect list that I used to have around 300 or 400 different tapes and as many vinyls, so it's hard for me to remember each one of them and if I have it or didn't have it. But I appreciate the support regardless. As to what emotion the song Rapperswausen conveys, to me it's winter and the night, and I composed it in just a few days because it started with me having a new camera and trying to record a video on a cemetery in the winter in December. And then I got really inspired because, of course, my fingers got frozen. I couldn't move. And that's why it's very minimalistic. And then just 1 month later, I had a scheduled rehearsal and recording session up in the north of Sweden, scheduled and planned with my friends and band members back then to record Sköld. And because we had all the equipment there, we felt, well, why not record Rakvalsvalsen as well? So that's what we did. And the lyrics is about just one of my meditation sessions of cutting myself and then reflecting upon that experience. It's a good combination. As for what song I'm most content or proud of, uh, none of them are unreleased, so it's hard to tell at the moment. But Transform Vemod is definitely one of them. That will remain one of my favorites because it's a part of a hard time of my life and I overcame it, so that should mean something. And then there are some unreleased ones. As for if I worked together with Trist, yeah, we made the Life is Pain EP, and then we also took a part of a book that one of my friends made for her doctorate study in social anthropology, which is about me and my friends and life level and the movement in the subculture of black metal and like anything that's a bit depressive or dark. Unfortunately, that's just published in a university, so it's very expensive because it's a bit strange. It's hard to explain. I'll talk to her someday and see what we can do about it. And of course, me and Jon have done many concerts and performances together, so that's another thing that is worth talking about in the future. And I haven't been to Estonia. I just been to Lithuania and Latvia. As for working with Justin Bieber, well, I'm prepared to work with anyone as long as the conditions are correct or proper. Yeah, the book is publicly available, but it's like 60 euros. But if you still are interested, I can point you forward to where you can find it if it's still available. I have no idea who Giles Corey is. As for if I want my music to become mainstream or always stay underground, well, it's not about wanting. Because what I do is connected to darkness and shadows, and people are generally not interested in that. Though what they watch in television tells a different story, but uh, it's not that I'm not interested in being something mainstream. It's just that the mainstream is not interested in me, and that's not going to limit me or inhibit me in doing what I need to do. Because, yeah, as I mentioned before, I live for what I do, and as long as I'm alive, I'm going to keep on doing what I do. As for the Life Lover concert in Rotterdam, um, I think it was okay, but we have a recorded version of the concert we did the day before in Aarschot in Belgium, which is going to be released someday in the future. It's really fantastic and really dark and depressive and fantastic and amazing in so many ways. Because I can't believe that all of us are actually there, especially some of the people. But yeah, unfortunately, I almost broke my leg in Belgium, and I couldn't stand up for the majority of my time. So it was a strange day, but I appreciate it. And if I feel like a rock star, or if I'm just a dude that makes good music, I think definitely the latter. I appreciate when people uh, appreciate what I do, but I've never really felt like a rock star because most people don't give a fuck about anything that I do. And I've been in enough situations where I needed help from people and gotten ignored and shunned that I know that this world is definitely just for those who are willing to overcome suffering. And if there are any gigs or concerts this year, yeah, definitely. Uh, Unfortunately, more of them are online than not. We're planning something with Cal, at least in Stockholm this year, and yeah, I should be able to make something with hypothermia too, and then we'll see beyond that. It's complicated. And thanks for the recommendation. I've never heard of that Corey character, but we'll see if I remember it for the future. Life Flower will never happen live again, unfortunately, but hypothermia will definitely happen in the future, both in Sweden and abroad. As for listening to Demon, I'm happy to hear that. She is amazing, and everyone should listen to Demon. Once again, everyone should listen to Demon. And of course, you have access to her music on Bandcamp, but I also have her debut CD and LP on my web shop. And I appreciate to hear that, Lasse. Where in Sweden do you live, or do you live somewhere else? I can see if I can set something up in the area. because I have equipment. I just need a venue. I can even play at your backyard or living room if you pay the expenses. And uh, as for when it comes to offending me, that's very hard to do unless you talk about shitty bands that I hate, which is just 2 or 3 of them. People still keep up every fucking shit, even though I tell people not to. But well, I guess maybe in 5 or 10 more it will be away. But yeah, I feel better, but I also feel worse. It depends on my mood in different days. Like the more I'm alone, the worse I feel because it's not like I love being alone. I love solitude, but the as you all know who suffer from either depression or anxiety, the more you're alone, you also have more time to tell yourself different stupid things. And if no one is there to say no to you, you will have more realizations of that. I have no idea where Valhalla in Skövde is, but I've used to be a lot in Skövde, and I wouldn't mind playing there. If you mail me at symphony to the void at android.com or simply kim at android.com or at gmail.com, we'll see what happens. Um, I would be happy to play in Valhalla or Skövde. Part of this recorded in Skövde. As for living close to Jönköping, come to Tabergstoppen for fuck's sake. Taberg is in Jönköping, essentially, and this is where I am now. So Halmstad sucks. Yeah. Yeah, Torsvik is close as fuck. Last year I used to travel further than that to get to work. I used to travel from Huskvarna to get here. 1 hour each fucking morning. And then 1 kilometer of walking up a mountain. Råslätt is very close to Taberg, like 10 minutes, while Huskvarna is like 30 to 40 minutes away. As for being in the mood for alcohol, well, you can pretend that this is like current sort of grape juice. If you have access to the. Well, I can't remember. There is a local place that makes juices and carbonated drinks without alcohol, like outside of Huskvarna on the way to Gränna. I can't remember name at the moment. Well, 85 is shit too. And yeah, Jönköping and Huskvarna is intertwined. So is this. Like if you buy like a bus ticket, it's the same song. Well, Pepsi is fine too. Scroll. Yeah, that's true. Uh, and if I become hangover easily, no. I have a lot of practice. Cheers. Uh, well, Bankeryd is further away. Like there is more like forest and stuff between Bankeryd and Huskvarna. As for becoming recognized in the streets, it happens sometimes. More likely like in Gothenburg than in Jönköping or Stockholm. And the irony is that it happens to me more in Belgium and Mexico than in Sweden. So, yeah. Yeah, and also everyone that works here, of course, knows me. So, um, if you ask for me, you'll be able to meet me too, of course. And depending on how much we have at work, could have a coffee or something. Or if you like, we cook warm food until 7 in the evening, but we're open until 9 now. So if you're here at before 7, but don't mind staying for a while, you can always have after work beer. Or if you're not allowed to drink, you can have something else. Well, Pulver City is more about a town a bit more north that one of our members used to live in. But the irony, of course, is that the girl on that cover used to live in Bankeryd. She doesn't anymore, she disappeared. But I can't think of any fanboys attacking. Yeah, you should visit Tabergstoppen. We have good food and a good view. And yeah, most towns are Pulver cities. It's true. This chat became overrun by 3 Swedes, where usually there is a lot of people from Canada and Australia and Brazil, but I have no idea. Maybe they prefer Saturdays to Fridays. Uh, as for what happens to Honch Emerging, well, I made the music, but the label doesn't want to release it because it's instrumental. And then they signed several post-rock acts. So I think they're just confused. But it's going to happen. I've composed 3 albums that I have a contract for, so we'll see what happens. Well, Honest Emerging was before Alcest. Francesco, you can't. I can't talk about that because I will. I won't be able to say something proper about it. I will talk about that in a future video, and that's more than. Well, he's already had too much attention through the years, through what I do. And he tried to hijack my life's work for his own compulsive and egoistic endeavors. So that's more than enough reasons for me to ban him. That's my ex drummer. Like he used to be in Hypothermia from 2008 until 2000 and like 17, and yeah, he's not worth talking about. I know it's raining here, so that's nice. And no, I don't. I used to have, but she couldn't tolerate my kind of attitude to social interaction, or that I was away and always prioritized my music to other things. And I think it makes sense. I understand why she didn't want to be a part of it, because it's hard to be in my life. And yeah, it's just what it is. So for the moment, no. Yeah, it's been humid here is like for many hours. This is like the first rain in over a week. And if I'm able to escape the feeling where everything feels heavy through music nature, or if I drown in the depression of weight of existence, well, I don't know what that means, because I always feel the weight and heaviness of nature and its air, and I can never escape it. And like I will be dead the day that I can't feel that anymore. There's no other way to say it. Uh, I'm interested in escaping it, but I don't have that luxury yet, because I have like 20 more albums to record. Thanks, Francisco. I appreciate that. And if I've seen the series True Detective, yeah, I liked the first season. Beyond that, it was bullshit. Um, and if there's an era of classical music I find interesting, I'm not sure about when it was, but I do adore Chopin. We used to listen to that in the past a lot. As for what path Hypothermia will take, well, I have some albums that are more like I wanted to go to the roots of my past in black metal, and then there is a bit more classical folk music as connected things, and then there is some more post rock aspect things that are usually connected to some extent. Yeah, there's no cookies here. Just bitter wine. Yeah, I agree. First season is great of that series, but the rest sucks. I rather watch like Fargo is another similar kind of atmosphere, and that this series is very good most seasons. Yeah, and I agree. Music in nature is more of a release than burden, and haven't read anything by Linkola, and Nickel Harpa is too complicated, but maybe sometime in the future. Well, that's fine, Maya. Thank you for your time too. Cheers. As for not seeing Fargo, the series, Lasse, you should check it out. The series is fantastic. As for favorite animal, I love cats. And my thoughts about Gigi Allen, I think I don't mind him, but as for music, I think it's bullshit, but lyrics, excellent. Well, I hate schools and music schools, so I have no idea what to do about that. I've considered becoming a teacher at one of those just to implement some kind of actual artistry, but it's a weird system, so I'm not sure. Sessions? You mean like violin and other stuff? Nah, it's hard to explain. I need the right kind of mind to work with. That's why I work with few people. Opening a music school in a basement sounds a bit too creepy. I think I understand your idea of it, but I think most parents wouldn't agree. But Kim's basement isn't the best place to earn your degree, though there is one. There is a basement and there are instruments. I still need to move, so we'll see. Mm. And yeah, I agree. For me, music schools blocked creativity than encouraged it. That's why it took me several years to relearn guitar. And accordions are cool. And no, I don't know that band. Though I have probably told them to fuck off and kill themselves, but that's another subject. And if I ever heard a warning, yeah, like a decade ago, but I don't remember them. And if I can listen to music, I could, but I'm not interested. I appreciate your sentiment, but uh, and if I like Wood Infinity, yeah, I know them quite well for like 15 years. Met them many times. I've recorded samples for them. That's on their albums. I've released several of their albums on tape on my own label. Hopefully that answers your question. I released both Hey Do, Use It, and Hamshan on tape. As for my creative process, it's definitely harmony with nature. Well, if you can find other Pinot Noirs, it's still a nice grape, but La Bourgeois is deeply recommended. It's like 13 euros, so like 15 bucks. And greetings back to Chile. As for lyrics, I had a tour plan with them, but they dropped out. And then I met one of them in London, and we had to kick him off stage because he refused to leave because he was too drunk and couldn't understand proper spoken sentences. That's all I can say about that. And if I painted with ejaculate, yeah, of course I have. From me and others. There's not much truth to have with that, but it's just liquid, just like blood. Use blood for like dozens of people. Yeah, get silent. Take it in. As for what the most unexpected or guilty pleasure album you have had or have in my collection, it's a live album from Kate Bush. It's like a 3 CD collection that I got a few years ago. It's amazing. Well, I wouldn't say weird things because usually when I paint, I'm naked, so it's not too weird to include all of yourself into your work. Um, but there's a matter of perspective, of course. But it doesn't really react a lot. It's a lot worse than vinegar because it's not acidic enough and it's not fat enough to react with the blood. It's only used it with blood and wine before, and it tends to, like, if you make ink or paint with like egg yolk and oil, that's a bit similar, but not as reactive. It cuts and splits more. And I've used eggs and turtle eggs before too, and that's similar. Like eggs, like egg white is most similar, obviously. Like, yeah, that's the most similar to how it reacts to blood and ink. And I don't care about Lana Del Rey, but my guitarist in Belgium loves her. I honestly don't give a fuck, but she's made some good stuff. Uh, well, that's all of a matter of perspective. You can't really take a microscope to that extent. And if I enjoy mainstream pop, no, I usually hate it because to me it's uninspired. I know about Rome, but I think it's mediocre as fuck. So I'm not interested. And that's why I don't do something like that too, because to me it feels uninspired. I'm not sure if it's studental, but there's been examination or exams. Like the youth was here all day, like eating ice cream and pancakes and bullshit like that. So we have maybe 1 or 200 people around 12 o'clock here. After that, it was calmer. Yeah, you're just using ways to get white into a sentence. And I like Britney, so leave her alone. uh, I do like Britney, but uh, not to her credit. I have no. Well, it's all about the mentality and the hormones, and all is well on Tabergstoppen. Thanks for asking, Jonas. Well, making white is also a euphemism, so close enough, I think. Uh, well, when it comes to depression, that affects more other things. But to me, it has never affected that. But it affects like my all other aspects of a relationship, which of course is connected. Because when I'm depressed, I don't have the need to talk to anyone. I just want to create music or art, whatever you want to call it. And most people don't understand that if they want to be something else beyond that, they have to make sure that happens, because that's not my priority. As for my opinions on LGBTQ, blah blah blah, whatever they're adding to it, I don't really have any opinions. I don't mind it, don't care for it. I think it's excessive, but oh, I hope that they find a way to be happy. That's all. That's the least thing we can all do. We should never require, assume, or demand it, but we can sure as hell hope for it and desire it most of all. I have no idea who that is, but hi. I don't remember putting the cap on this one, but this is the end of this bottle. I have no idea how beyond over goes. As for decent albums to recommend, nah, nothing to say that I haven't been before. Like I mentioned before, Demon, you should check her stuff out. As for other recent years, like more acoustic or ambient stuff, on the same label as Demon, Grouper or Grapper, her stuff is amazing. If I had a connection or contact with the guy of Grift, some of my friends are seeing him next week, so we'll see if we do something then. Beyond that, he's friends with many of my friends, but I don't give a shit because I don't care about people. We'll see what the future holds. And yeah, I like Tenny, like old Tenny. But they made a fool of themselves on the first Prophecy Fest. So I can't respect them after that. When it comes to learning chords or riffs, I just practice them by myself and I find what feels good to me. That's all. And how often do I walk barefoot in the woods? I agree it's calming, and I do that monthly at least. And if I don't smoke cigarettes or tobacco, I used to like 10 and 15 years ago, and sometimes like 4 years ago with friends. But to me, it's a waste of money and time, so I don't. I spend that money on music equipment instead. And no, I've never used TikTok, and then I never will. Yeah, and I have some of her old albums on vinyl, and if you can't get some of it, like Dragging a Dead Deer Up a Hill, is a really good album. If you can't find it, I have a personal copy that I can sell. Then there is some other stuff too. Yeah, it's always best to spend money on equipment. And I mentioned that before also in previous videos when it comes to quitting smoking or drinking. Because I did that like both 10, 15, 20 years ago. That any time that I wanted to buy cigarettes or beer or wine. I put the amount of money that I would spend on that substance in like either a wallet or a account each time that I want to buy that. And after a while, you'll have enough money to instead buy a guitar or a reverb pedal or stuff like that. And if I've slept outside a lot, yeah, especially like between my years of 20 to 30, I slept a lot in like abandoned houses and playgrounds and parks and cemeteries and stuff like that. And sometimes in stairways and stuff like that, but mostly in cemeteries and playgrounds. As for the latest thing I bought in terms of equipment, um, a guitar tuner and a distortion pedal that has one boost channel and one drive channel, so I can adjust the drive setting because I don't have a good or on or off switch for my amplifier. So I wanted to get a good drive pedal for that. So that's what I'm going to show you in my live video. Yeah, I agree that it's a good way, especially now with the current climate that you have apps for everything. Just transfer like every time you want to smoke, transfer 50 crowns to your savings account, and that makes it easier. And if I experience intrusive thoughts due to anxiety, yeah, definitely, especially when I'm alone. And fortunately, I've taken different times in my life. I've taken a lot of mushrooms and acid, so intrusive thoughts is just bullshit to me. I can handle it easily, and I know where it's coming from. It's all about my insecurities and the voices in my head, and I'm well aware and well equipped how to deal with it. So yeah. And if people will go bananas if I sleep in playgrounds, not really. You would be surprised how little people care about someone sleeping on a rutschkana. Uh, like, there's many times that I've slept in playgrounds and no one gives a shit because usually also I wake up early in the morning, so there's no kids up there. Like I'm not disturbing their playtime. As for nostalgia, yeah, I'm well aware of that feeling, how it can cripple you. I have days when I can barely breathe and barely move. Fortunately, over time that translates to lyrics and music, so it's worth it. Thank you, Natasha. Uh, See you next time. Take care. And yeah, that's true, Lasse. It's a very good point to make that no one would really want to mess with someone sleeping in a playground either. You just knock him on the head unless you're actually disturbed in some way. And Francesco, I don't think you're the only one hearing that girl in the background sing numbers. because this is on a mountain and it's connected to several like weather and communicative portals, so it can be radio interference. Like if I put in my headphones, I hear it too, but I have no idea how to put that away. As for proper tools of dealing with anxiety and having the realizations being later in life, well, you can't really decide yourself when you have those realizations. The most important part is if you have them or not. It's not for you to decide when you have them, and none of your friends or family or partners should ever decide or put that pressure on you, because you can't choose. It happens when it happens. And thanks, Lasse. I appreciate it. So see you next time, or some other time, or maybe here even. I appreciate having you here. And hi, Jakub. Sorry, Jakub. Sorry that I haven't been able to go back to Czech Republic lately, but you know the deal. Cheers. Yeah, it sounds like it's raining less outside right now. It's still a bit windy, so we'll see what happens. I'm starting to get slightly intoxicated, but that's more about me not eating properly rather than drinking too much. And of course, I have both food and wine downstairs, or beer. I think I'll choose beer and then sleep because I need to go back to work in 7 hours. So the percent, the percent is 13. And yes, it's empty. Thanks. Well, I worked from 7 in the morning until 8 in the evening last night too. And that's what I'm doing tomorrow too. It's just what I do. And yeah, I'll see what I can do about making a video about cooking someday. As for how many hours I work in a day, it's usually between 12 and 13 hours. And also, there is like a mini golf outside of here that I clean every morning on the weekdays. And that takes like 20 minutes. So I tend to get up at 6 in the morning and I finish work between 8 and 9 in the evening. As for if there's any place that I like in Jönköping, not really. Um, like outside of where I lived when I was 16, there's a park called Vattenledningsparken. That's nothing special really. I think like I mentioned that earlier when it comes to perspective that and that's one of the reasons why people have a hard time dealing with me too is that I don't live in the present and I don't live in the past. I live in the future. So I'm not limited to what I did or didn't do in the past because I always know what I'm able to do in the present and in the future. And that's where my focus is. Yeah, it sounds like a good job. I used to work like that or as that. Yeah, around a decade ago. It was nice. Unfortunately, because I don't have a driver's license, I couldn't continue that job. As for what I think about satanic themes and ideology, I think it's very important, but it's you shouldn't rely on it for everything that you do unless you feel connected to it, which I do. But your question is a bit open-ended. I don't mind it, but it's a bit open-ended, so I'm not sure where to go with it. Yeah, I think so. And yeah, if I had spiritual or paranormal experiences, I've had many times in nature where I simply rely on my senses, where there's just complete darkness, and I've been able to get home. And sometimes there has been like light levitating around me. And yeah, it's true what you say about the past, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's one of the important things to remember and also teach yourself over the years, because it's easy to forget it. Because it's like one of the bad habits we have as humans to compare ourselves to other people. And we assume a way stronger version of ourselves. And then we compare ourselves to that and feel like a failure. And yeah, it should be self-evident that that's destructive. And it's not only about inner experience, but experience itself. And to not just experience, but to truly experience. And for shadow people, I have lyrics about that. But that's more about like being sleep deprived. So I count that in or on to my youth as being sleep deprived. Like it's a light psychosis. But I know where I am. I'm not a stranger to myself or anyone else. As for what I would hate about humanity, meh, hate is never the right word because that's a strong word and a strong feeling. But I agree with you that it's a shame that people don't have more respect for nature because you wouldn't be here without nature, while nature will definitely be here without you. So who's the one that deserves respect? That's always a question worth thinking about. And yes, there is definitely a soul somewhere. I wouldn't say that we possess one specifically, but I sense it when I grow mushrooms and I harvest. I sense it. And when I brew beer, I sense it in the yeast when I transfer it to the next batch. And when I cook food and transfer different aspects of one dish to another to connect them to each other, I feel it. The world breathes into you and you exhale onto it. And if I would want to visit space, we're all in space right now. We're all in space. And I'm out of wine. And if I'm going to make a video about bringing beer or wine, yeah, definitely. I just need to get the ingredients because I don't have them at the moment. Because, yeah, recently it used to be about not being able to get the ingredients, but now I don't have the time. But I will make it work. And if I've ever thought about writing a book about philosophy, yeah, I'm working on it. It will happen. Later than sooner, but yeah, it's going to happen. Skogsmull is a good lesson. And welcome back, Elvira. Uh, Good to hear that about your training. And yeah, it's been a good one. Finish the wine, have some water. I think I'll go get some beer because yeah, I'm thirsty. Beyond that, as you usually know or have noticed from previous streams, I'm blessed with having some very devoted and kind fans and followers and chat members here. So we have a good time here. It's wonderful. Yeah. Scouts is a good translation of skogsmulle. But I have no idea. I've never been a part of that myself. Well, there's nothing wrong about being an insect because insects are important. They pollinate our flowers. They make berries. They make fruits. There is no cucumbers, tomatoes, strawberries, cherries without insects. So be a proud insect. Incarnation, I don't care for it. That's a bad excuse to be less of yourself in the moment and to save some of it for the future without never really caring about making it real. And I don't mind the concept by itself. It has value and purpose, but it's not for me. It's really not for me. I disagree. I'm going to grab a drink because this wine is not for me. I will be back in a minute. Biggest goal? I'll think about it. Yeah, or I'm working on it. No. Um, well, I have no idea how to remove the number station. That I live next to a grocery store, and I usually have just 1 hour to get close to it, so I can't help it. And my grandfather used to be an alcoholic, and he died a few years ago, and he drank Prips, so I do it in support of him. Sorry if you don't like it. And I can't play other songs by other people. Sorry. Um, I can just play my own songs. And barely that. I just can't. Yeah, I can live on people beer for a long while too. But I never Do that beyond the actual food. Yeah, it's a beer. It's light beer, like Bud Light but Swedish. Because many of the days of work, I start working between 6 and 7 in the morning, and I end at between 7 and 9 in the evening. And the place that sells beer or wine that's above 3% in alcohol closes at 6, so I miss their opening hours when I work. So yes, it's a beer. Not a great beer, but it's a beer. There's no coded message, but we can try to make one for the future. And no, I haven't seen Wild Harvest. Sounds weird. I'm sure that he would care more about the life flower tattoo than the barcode. As for Grift, I don't know. We'll see in a week or two. Yeah, Corona sucks here. It's retarded. But yeah, at least we're able to be open. That's something. But yeah, I personally have lost a lot through it, but that's irrelevant because I don't really matter. And in the end, I will matter more. Not right now, but in the future. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm not a fan of propaganda. I'm not a fan of discussing it either because, you know, it's not interesting. And also, I know that we will overcome it in a not too distant future. So, no matter what you wish to believe or not, yeah, it's going to sort itself out in a not too distant future. How many axes do I own? It depends on your definition, but 3 or 4. Like I have three proper ones and one less proper one. And then I have maybe a dozen knives and 2 sides. And my thought of the meaning of life, immersing yourself into nature and learning as much as possible out of it. And whatever else, that's less relevant. And I don't believe in population control. And no, I don't have that accent. I don't, or maybe I have. I'm not sure. I don't. I haven't been at home for a while, so I don't remember what's the name of my old access. Maybe, maybe not. And I'm happy to hear about your knife, because a good knife is a good knife. Why not? And I have a potato peeler too, maybe 5. But that's also irrelevant. Hertz is good quality too. Yeah. I don't have a chainsaw. I used to have, but I gave it away. As for favorite effect pedals, the Microcosm by Hologram Electronics, the RV6 by Boss, for both of them for reverb, and like everything by Dwarfcraft is amazing, although a bit glitchy. And it's a hard question to answer, but I'm going to do my best in the future more for videos. As for spending time with a dead body and feeling peace and resolution, yeah, I also spent a lot of time with my grandfather, but I wish I spent more time. Thanks, Curtis. And when it comes to geology and non-living nature, I have no idea. I appreciate the thought, but I seriously have no idea. And of course, there's other ideas for guitar pedals, but yeah, I'm a little drunk and distracted right now. Sorry. Yeah, Dark Star is good, but it's a bit limited. And I've read Schopenhauer in the past, but it's been like 15 years, so I don't remember any of it. As for if there's a person I regret not having in my life, yeah, it's always going to be Jonas. Always. Because I could have. I know that I could have saved his life, but I didn't. And I fucking miss him. Fucking miss him. There's no time. As for special encounters in the wild, yeah, like wild boars all the time, wild deers. I used to sleep in the forest a lot, but I don't anymore. And yeah, calm is definitely a tribute. I don't blame anyone. I don't give a shit about shining. I'm not interested. Think I'm getting close to my the end of my beer, and I have to work in a few hours. So I think I'll end at 3 hours here. I'm sorry if you just joined, but there's always other times. I just want to avoid saying something stupid. And if you feel that that has already happened, I'm sorry to hear that. But it's not going to be the last time because I'm just me, and that's not saying a lot. I don't know what to say. And I don't have any pets because I'm away too much. Otherwise, I would have both cats and dogs, but especially cats. I used to have cats. Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely beer in the future. I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, I've noticed that too. Even the last time I tried to record music, I had dragonflies approaching me. And when I used to have cats, they used to join me too. Yeah, no, I can't shred. I have no idea how to do that because it's uninteresting to me. Yeah, there's definitely more that I can do about that. So, and my guitar is in D. If there's something for what or because I could kill another person, no. And yeah, it's very possible to treat me to a beer or two. Just come here, especially if it's between 8 and 9, because it's when we close the warm kitchen and the open bar is still open. And I have no idea if it's bad or not, because I have no idea about technical aspects of chords. I just play. And thanks. Yeah, I think it would be weird to open up another beer and just drink and stare at the screen. So it's better that I thank you all for joining me here. I appreciate it greatly and a lot. So, yeah. And yeah, I did tune some other guitars. I prefer not this one, but others. And I stay in Tabarry until September. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yeah, see you next time. And thank you. I appreciate it a lot. And I will try to do my best to inspire more. And I'll see you next time. It's not too far away. Take care, good night, and cheers. Good night. Take care. And I'll see about the rest of the comments later. It's either that I don't care, or that I'm not interested, or that I will see in the future. We'll see. But good night, take care, and see you next time. Thank you for joining me, and take care. See you next time.